meeting for Monday, February 11th, 2019 at 7:07 p.m. Ms. Eicher, will you please take roll call?
Mayor Christy Melendez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ken Bennett.
Here.
Miles Baker.
Here.
Barry Wilson.
Here.
Paul Rennemeyer.
Here.
Tom Jones.
Here.
David Soslowski.
Here.
Mr. Rennemeyer, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item this evening is review of agenda by the board and addition of items of new business to the agenda for consideration.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer with a second from Mr. Baker approving the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by yes, opposed no. And the agenda is approved as presented. Item 4. Item 4 this evening, we're going to do a proclamation for Windsor Kindness Week, but first we're going to start off with a video.
Likely involve those who are kindest to us. So why aren't we kind more often? It's a tricky question to answer. Is it difficult? Expensive? Kindness can be expressed through a smile, a thoughtful word, or a helping hand. But the magnitude of these small gestures can't be underestimated. The effects are experienced by everyone involved. Those who simply witness it feel the same warmth and comfort as those who offer or receive the act. And they can all be inspired to practice and spread kindness in their own lives and in the lives of others. This unique ripple effect has the power to change the way people see and experience the world. Through acts of kindness among friends and strangers, we all foster a more caring and civil society. Kindness can be the norm, not the exception. Pass it on.
And with that, I'm going to read our proclamation for Windsor Kindness Week 2019, February 10th to the 16th. Whereas, Windsor residents are encouraged to practice random acts of kindness in the spirit of compassion and goodwill toward all persons. Whereas, the town of Windsor embraces a culture of inclusivity and respect and supports efforts that enhance and diversify our community. Whereas, various organizations and entities across the town of Windsor have come together to continue the Kindness Week initiative and foster community support and kindness in 2019 and beyond. Whereas, the town of Windsor strongly opposes acts of violence and all forms of intolerance and mean-spiritedness. Whereas, the Daily Kindness challenges support and uplifts members of the Windsor community and beyond, ultimately making our own little corner of the world a more thoughtful, kind, and caring place, where people of all walks of life are valued and respected. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Christy Melendez, Mayor of Windsor, along with the Windsor Town Board, proclaim February 10th to the 16th, 2019 as Kindness Week, with encouragement for all citizens to participate in daily kindness and goodwill towards all persons. I encourage our community to work together on this today and in the future to keep Windsor an amazing place to live, work, and play. And as you leave our chambers this evening, you'll see that we have special heart cookies. I encourage you all to not only take one for yourself, but take a couple of extra ones to pass them along and share your kindness this week. I also want to read just briefly, along with us enacting Kindness Week, the Optimist Club is going to move forward and initiate their own Kindness Week, holding it February 10th through the 16th. their week will have a suggested daily act, in which I will read. So on Sunday is Service Sunday. Kick off the week with a good deed or act of service. Bins to collect Windsor Severance food pantry donations will be at King Soopers and Safeway. Monday is Senior Smiles, brighten the day of a Windsor senior citizen. Tuesday, reach out and write. Connect with someone who has impacted your life. Wednesday, share the love. Pay it forward, extend kindness to others rather than a person that may have directly helped you. Thursday, thank an educator, recognize a teacher, mentor, or school staff member that has made a difference in your life. Friday, recognize first responders and veterans, deliver cookies or some type of goodies to Windsor first responders. And Saturday, neighborly nod, do something kind for your neighbor, shovel their walk, bring them goodies, or just spend time together. And I would encourage everybody to really get in the act. I myself have purchased 100 Girl Scout cookies, which I am passing along to our seniors and our first responders in our community this week as well. So anyway, thank you. Moving on, we will move on next to our board liaison reports. First board liaison member Baker, Town Board and Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you. There's not been a Historic Preservation Commission meeting since my last update. I was unable to attend the tree board meeting in January, but on February 23rd is the tree symposium at the Recreation Center. So all those that are interested in learning about trees, how to care for them, and which ones to plant, I would encourage you to go to that. That's it.
Okay. Town Board Member Wilson, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory Board, Poudre River Trail Corridor.
No major developments with the Poudre River Trail, although related to the Poudre River Trail and Windsor Open Space, west of the Kiger Reservoir on the west side of town where the river crosses 392, Larimer County is doing some work there. The river was straightened out years ago for the Poudre River to go under Highway 392. Now if there's ever high water or flood condition, it comes through rather fast and dangerously, and they're putting some of the natural bends back into the river in that area so it'll flood more naturally and flow better. And that's all being done by Larimer County. I've gotten lots of questions about, what's going on in that area with the dirt work and so on. There is a website that has some of the details and maps and so on. In regards to Parks and Rec, the Rec Center had a record month in January. It's always a high month with New Year's resolutions, but I think we had over 42,000 people come through the doors at the Rec Center in the month of January, which kind of blew the doors off the old record.
Okay. Town Board Member Bennett, Water and Sewer Board.
The Water and Sewer Board meets at 6:30 tomorrow morning, and anyone who's up is welcome to attend.
Town Board Member Rennemeyer, Chamber of Commerce.
There is no report. We have not had a meeting since our last update.
Town Board Member Jones, Windsor Housing Authority, Great Western Trail Authority.
Members of the Great Western Trail Authority Board met with the county commissioners this afternoon. We have some items to iron out as far as county road crossings when the trail's completed between Severance and Eaton. And so we'll be working with their public works folks to how to best go about taking care of those crossings. Windsor Housing Authority, there's ongoing dialogue between this board and the Housing Authority Board regarding the hiring of a new executive director, and those talks are going to be continuing in the near future.
Okay. Town Board Member Sislowski, Clearview Library Board. And Planning Commission.
Planning Commission did attend the meeting on Wednesday. We have one item that has come onto our calendar for a public hearing. And a reminder, I'll have a disclosure. There were otherwise no communications from that board to ours. The library board, or at least the library, spent two Saturdays, I guess, February 2nd and February 9th. There's an interview process going on for open board positions. So a representative from the RE4 School District, Severance Town Board, and myself for Windsor, along with member Katie Scherer from the Library Board, interviewed 21 people over the course of 2 days. offers are outstanding, and I think there's still some work to be done before I'll be coming back to the board. This board will need to ratify the recommended appointments when that comes forward, but I think we're a little ways away before that'll happen.
Okay. And I have Downtown Development Authority. I don't have anything to report. We, of course, have a special meeting this Wednesday at 6 p.m. along with the DDA board. And then next Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday, they have their actual Downtown Development Authority meeting at 7:30 a.m. North Front Range MPO did meet on February 7th. I have a kind of a lengthy report. As part of being the MPO chair this year, I also am the STAC representative. And so I got to attend my first STAC meeting in Denver last month in January. I won't always be reporting out, but I thought you might just find interest. STAC is where every MPO from around the state meets on a regular monthly basis, along with CDOT executives and other personnel to discuss transportation issues. I think the most glaring thing that is on everybody's mind from whether it's a state, a regional, or a local level, is the fact that currently there is not any kind of funding, at least in a regular funding mechanism that will fund our transportation needs for this state. So that is an ongoing conversation that continues to be had. But some things that we discussed that you might find of interest at the STAC or the state level. We talked about where actually this is the first time that I believe this group is talking about a Colorado aviation system plan. So they're actually putting into place an aviation system plan and talking to and coordinating with some of the airports. We talked about the Senate Bill 267 transit project. So just as a reminder, Senate Bill 267 is a loan instrument over 4 years, and 10% of the funds that are generated that are to be dedicated to transit. That first tranche of that funding is about $38 million. $9.5 million has already been released in a call for project for rural transit projects. But yet to be decided is if any of that other additional money will move forward. And that's something that we have is yet to come out if that will happen or not. Also, for those of you who use Bustang, Bustang has become an incredibly popular transit, but they're looking at a Bustang fare increase proposal just because ridership is continuing to increase. However, we've got diesel fuel costs going up, and also there is also a shortage right now of CDL drivers. So we're looking at that. And the other big item was the Southwest Chief and Front Range Rail Commission. So this commission was funded through the state legislature, and it's currently in the process of staffing, of putting together staff, and probably going to be hiring an executive director to oversee this commission in the very near future. Other important transportation items that happened at the actual MPO meeting, we had a very long presentation from Doug Decker who came to present to us Governor Polis's zero emissions vehicle rule for Colorado. It's an executive order that was put into place January 17th. They're going through the process right now, and they're getting lots of their feedback right now. There's going to be some hearings and there'll be some official rulemaking, they hope, come August. The MPO board had a lot of very concerned discussions, not because they're against eliminating emissions, but because of how and what it would do to Weld County. And first of all, there was no economic study that has come out to date as to what this zero emissions vehicle rule would do. I understand that is coming and moving forward. We should see that at some time in the near future. However, this board has asked to be part of the official rulemaking status. We've directed the executive director this time, though, to hire a legal expert to help us file for party status. Mainly, I think, because we want to share our concerns about how fast this is going, and really that there maybe has not been given enough consideration for how especially Weld County, I think, had the greatest concerns because that is a county that uses a lot of trucks and other kinds of vehicles. which currently you can't even find a zero emissions vehicle out there that would comply under this. So that was probably our longest discussion that we had. The other discussion that we had focused on Windsor, of course, and it was a presentation we saw in our work session a week ago about the state highway study that CDOT has agreed to do on State Highway 392 and State Highway 257. I think the biggest thing about that study, which we all saw that presentation on, that they plan to get done in June. If that does truly happen, that will be the fastest transportation an item I've ever seen come to fruition in that short a period of time ever in the history of transportation. The other thing that we did, and we had Dennis Wagner there that evening and Wade Willis, because we did go through the call for project lists, and there's several folks who qualify under different, there's like 4 different qualifications for funding. So there's CMAQ funding, there's STBG, and then there's TA funding. I'll just read you the top 5 funding projects that are for CMAQ, which stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. So Greeley was awarded $273,000 for a citywide signal retiming project. Fort Collins was awarded $4.3 million on a transit electric bus purchase. They're going to purchase about 5 electric buses with this funding. Greeley was awarded $2.3 million for a Phase 3 fiber project. Loveland was awarded $3.3 million for a North Taft Avenue and US 34 section widening improvement project. And Fort Collins was awarded about $387,000 for a College and Trilby Road intersection improvement project. Windsor's name did come up because we were awarded a project under Transportation Alternatives. And so Wade Willis came up and presented that. We have been awarded $544,000 for a Poudre River Trail realignment improvement project. The only other thing, we did have a pre-meeting prior to that, Coalition 34 meeting. I also am now the chair of 34 Coalition. We did pass our resolution on that 34 resolution study that came before us. However, many other communities had not seen that yet to date, and so they either want CDOT to come and present. So we are going to wait and have this resolution. And this committee also agreed to meet only quarterly instead of monthly. And so hopefully that will be approved sometime in May. And sorry for the lengthy report, but that concludes my presentation. Moving on to item 6. Item 6 is public invited to be heard. This is for individuals wishing to participate and to be heard on a non-agenda item. I'm going to read off the names who have signed in here. When I read your name, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak to the town board. The first person we have this evening on the list is Don Wiggett.
My name is Don Wiggett, and I live at 700 First Street. And I'd like to say tonight, I just came to say how much I appreciate every member on the board and Christy Melendez for supporting our town in things that happen here, unseen and unseen. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate all that you do. And with the kickoff this week of Kindness Week, I hope that we all can be kind to each other. And I want to add to Christy's list of being kind. I work for the school district for the transportation department, and I hope you're all kind to your bus drivers and bus aides because they have a hard job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we give her 5 more minutes?
You want 5 more minutes?
That doesn't usually happen.
That's your good stuff.
And we also have this evening Ann Kling.
Ann Kling, Director of the Clearview Library District, 720 3rd Street in Windsor. I commend the town board and the mayor for proclaiming this to be Windsor Kindness Week. I think it's critical for the well-being of our town to continue this tradition in our town. I also want to remind everybody that the library is participating in Windsor Kindness Week. There'll be several activities there. Who knows, you might even get some fines forgiven if you stop in one of these days. We'll also have the banners there to sign for the first responders later on this week. In the words of Mother Teresa, 3 things in human life are important. The first is to be kind, the second is to be kind, and the third is to be kind. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our consent calendar. This evening, we only have one item in our consent calendar, and that's the minutes of our January 28th meeting.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer with a second from Mr. Wilson to approve the minutes, or the consent calendar as presented. All in favor signify with yes, opposed no. And the consent calendar is approved unanimously as presented. Moving on to item C, board action, a public hearing for Rain Dance 5th filing, final major subdivision, Martin Lind of Rain Dance Land Company, LLC, the owner applicant, John Myers of TST Incorporated Consulting Engineers, the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, looks like Ms. Berry's going to be giving us presentation. And first I would seek a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor for Mr. Rennemeyer with a second for Mr. Bennett to open public hearing. All in favor signify with yes, opposed no. Public hearing is now open. Ms. Berry.
Madam Mayor, excuse me, Ms. Berry,
Yes.
sorry, just a quick minute. Just for the record, in matter of public hearing and any other public hearings we have tonight that are quasi-judicial, I need to point out that in my capacity as town board liaison to the Planning Commission, I was present at the Planning Commission meeting during which this matter was previously presented. I wish to state that my participation in the Planning Commission proceeding has in no way influenced me in my capacity as a town board member this evening. I'll make my decision and cast my vote on this matter solely on the evidence presented during this public hearing this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yes, as mentioned, this is the public hearing and resolution 2019-12 for the final major subdivision for the Rain Dance subdivision 5th filing. This final major subdivision was reviewed in accordance with Article 4 of Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code. The property is located in the southeast corner of Weld County Road 13 and New Liberty Road. The property is zoned RMU, or residential mixed use. This final major subdivision does build on the overall Rain Dance master plan. The proposal is in the box that outlined in the red box on the screen. It's the 5th filing. The plans for this area are single-family residential lots and then also a tract for future development. So the plat consists of 33.8 acres in total. A large portion, 22 acres, is slotted for future development, and that's the southern portion of the lot. So this focuses on the northern portion, which consists of 53 single-family lots on 11.7 acres. And in addition to the 53 single-family lots, there's also a tract for open space, which is just under 5 acres. The project is 1- and 2-story houses with attached garages. And it does include the extension of the trail system and some open space areas, including agriculture and other uses that build on the Rain Dance brand. This particular plat will be developed in 2 phases, with the first phase being on the eastern portion of the property. Here's the landscaping plan that includes the bulk of the landscaping and improvements being on that tract for the open space, that just under 5-acre tract, and then also the street trees that are required for this subdivision area. I did want to note that the landscape and improvement plans do show the extension of the trail system along County Road 13, along with that extensive mix of agricultural uses as mentioned. There has been some talk about a water line easement going down County Road 13 in the future. We wanted to note, and we've talked to the applicant about making sure that any easements that go in the area do not preclude use for community residents of the trail. And then also if there's any impact to either the trail or any required landscaping, that be reconstructed by the applicant or by the user or the new easement owner and not the town. So the proposal is found consistent with the comprehensive plan, particularly the growth framework and the residential areas framework. This has to do with the accommodating future growth in a responsible manner, both fiscally and environmentally, and also supporting diverse housing and residential neighborhoods to meet the needs of varying family sizes, lifestyles, and income levels. So the public hearing was follows the code for what notifications are necessary. That was done in January. I did want to note that a neighborhood meeting was held in the preliminary phase of this major subdivision. At that meeting, about 3 people attended, and basically their questions revolved around what amenities that this particular portion of the Raindance subdivision would provide. At its February 6, 2019 meeting, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation to the town board to approve the final major subdivision and resolution 2019-12 as presented with the following conditions, which means that the subdivision plat will be adjusted according to all staff comments prior to recordation, and that the applicant enter into a development agreement with the town prior to recordation of the subdivision plat. So staff does request the following be entered into the record: the application, the staff memorandum, the public hearing testimony from this public hearing, and also the recommendation that's just been presented. That includes concludes the staff presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, the applicant is also here tonight to answer any questions that I can.
Okay, Mr. Baker.
Thank you. When you talk about 22 future acres of use, is that more single family, or is that the farm area on the perimeter?
It's not very much described in this area. It's just called future development. According to the master plan that is for the overall Raindance, the master plan calls it out as some kind of residential use, whether it be a higher density residential use or single family lots. Hasn't been determined. I'm sure that part of that would have some kind of tract for open space to continue that trail along the County Road 13, but the actual details are not yet been submitted.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any additional questions? Dr. Jones?
Yeah, on that slide, Melissa, the red box
Yes.
is the filing. That's the 5th filing inside the red
Yes,
lines?
the 5th filing. And then on this next page, so this is the larger area in the south portion of the site. That's the 22 acres, that's future development. And then for clarity of the slide, we focused in on the northern portion, which has the residential lots, and the tract A, which is the open space that's planned in association with this piece.
It crosses the county road, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it does not. It's, the box is a little big, so I can't get in here now, but basically it's just what's on this side of County Road, County Road 13. So it's actually outlined in the thicker black line.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Any additional questions? Okay, Mr. Sosowski?
Thank you, ma'am. Only because it's my recent mantra with all of the developments to ask about water systems, and the subdivision considerations that you had
Yes.
briefly posted have a list of 9, including, meets our utility requirements, including potable, non-potable. Do you know if this area up here is going to be serviced by both?
I am not sure. I'd have to ask the Director of Engineering if he knows if there's a non-potable irrigation system on site, or the applicant on that. But the houses themselves will be on Windsor Water.
I think Mr. Hale.
Yeah, I'm certain they have a non-potable system on the subdivision.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rennemeyer, did that conclude your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Rennemeyer?
My question was, why did I have it come and then go? The space along County Road 13, is that allow enough easement for a potential future widening of 13 to be done without it encroaching on, I'm just asking on, do we take that into consideration that there could be a 4-lane County Road 13 at some point?
I may ask the Director of Engineering on his take on this, but I do believe when it was reviewed that the amount of right-of-way needed for County Road 13 was taken into consideration. There is a situation that may need some adjustments to that right-of-way. There's some discussion now about some kind of traffic, either signal or roundabout at New Liberty Road and County Road 13, and that may require additional right-of-way, but it would not be for the whole length of County Road 13, but just for the intersection area. And that hasn't been determined yet. It may fit into what's there now, but it's, there is some discussion in the development agreement that acknowledges this. And if it comes to that point, we will work with the applicant to gain that right away.
Okay.
Any additional questions from board members? If not, this is the public hearing portion. Is there anybody in the public who wish to address the board on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I believe we have everything we need at this point for the record, Mr. McCarter.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
I would seek a motion to close public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move that we close public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor for Mr. Rennemeyer with a second for Mr. Baker to close public hearing. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item 2, resolution 2019-12, major subdivision Raindance 5th filing. Martin Lind of Raindance Land Company LLC, the owner applicant, John Myers of TST Incorporated Consulting Engineers, the applicant's representative. Quasi judicial, anything further to add for the record? Okay, is there any further questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion forthcoming?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2019-12.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Mr. Bennett with a second from Dr. Jones, approving resolution 2019-12. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the resolution carries unanimously. Moving on to item 3, ordinance number 2019-1584, a petition to rezone a portion of Windsor Manor 7th filing. This is a second reading. It will require a supermajority vote, and it is quasi-judicial. Miss, well, this is not you in here.
Yes.
Not Carrie.
Yes, I'm just covering for Carrie tonight since this is second reading.
Okay.
And there have been no changes since the first reading, so I'm here just to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Would you like to proceed?
Sure. I can just reiterate the rezoning request. And what this rezoning request would do is it would eliminate a split zone lot. And this is the small portion here that is being rezoned east of 13th Street, north of Ash. Again, this small portion here, the existing zoning is multifamily 1, and the proposed is PUD, which matches this subdivision here. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and this is the area that was notified for both the neighborhood meeting and the public hearing notifications. Staff is recommending, the Planning Commission recommended approval to the town board at their January 28th, 2019 meeting of the rezoning request, as well as ordinance number 2019-1584, and staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the application, supplemental materials, staff memorandum, supporting documents. Ordinance number 2019-1584, all testimony received during the public hearing, and the recommendation. And included here are the 2 items that staff reviews rezonings for.
Okay. Does that complete your
That
presentation?
completes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay.
Just have a comment, because some time ago, we had talked about, with all these presentations at the end, sort of having those criteria that we're supposed to consider with respect to the motion. You had, and we discussed adding the slide. You guys have done that consistently. Thank you. It really, really helps.
Oh, sure, you're welcome.
Okay. There are no further questions or comments. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, before you take action,
Yes.
it is second reading?
Yes.
So can we take public comment,
Yes.
if any?
Is there anybody in the chambers who wish to address the board on this on this item this evening? I see none.
Just making sure. I just mentioned to Shane that I addressed you as Your Honor tonight, which is taking off on what he has done since you. It could be I was in court all weekend too. So.
Okay. So is there a motion to move forward?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2019-1584.
Second?
Motion on the floor for Mr. Redemeyer with a second for Mr. Bennett, approving resolution 2019-1584. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no. And the ordinance passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, ordinance number 2019-1585, an ordinance approving the conveyance of town-owned real property to Colorado National Sports Park, LLC. Again, second reading, it will require supermajority vote and legislative action. Mr. McCarter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What's before you on second reading tonight is unchanged from your first reading. It involves the approval of 2 special warranty deeds, one for what is known as the restricted parcel to the sports park and the other 50 acres that is referred to as unrestricted. As I mentioned in my memo, both portions are restricted by the permitted uses that are set forth in the amended and restated agreement, which is in your materials. The unrestricted portion, therefore, is a little less restricted than the restricted portion. The restricted portion is expressly restricted under the terms of the deed itself and requires that that property be kept available and used for outdoor sports activity. If that were not to come to pass, the town would have the ability to force the return of that entire 50 acres. Now, under the terms of the agreement, however, you have the authority to release parcels from the reach of that forfeiture clause, and I expect over time that Colorado National Sports Park will come before you and ask to release that, and that's a decision that you can make down the road. But the issue tonight is to approve these 2 deeds. If you do, here's the plan. Mr. Chasteen has signed a quitclaim or a special warranty deed back to the town, turning the property that we deeded to the sports park entity last fall back to us. So we will record that deed and then these two deeds immediately behind it, so we get it back and then we give it back to the sports park entity in the 2 separate parcels. So that's my presentation. If there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. And don't forget, on second reading, we do need to entertain public comment.
Any questions for Mr. McCarter? I know we do have the applicant. Did you want to come forward to say anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And no questions?
Well,
Mr. Sosowski?
In fact, I guess I maybe had a question for the applicant, if he has a minute. I guess my perception of this project, and it's really an exciting one, but Mr. Chasteen, I think you are the driver of that project. You're a pretty principal player, and how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All systems go, and the project's moving forward with?
The project's in great shape right now, yes, sir.
Good, well, I'm glad you're doing well. It's good to see you here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
That is.
Do we want to address that?
Yeah, and Your Honor, I just wanted to point out too, the board had a lot of conversation last time you met about the size of the proposed fill for phase 1. After that, we had a chance to sit down with Stephen, and I think we had a little bit of miscommunication. In addition to the 2 fields, there's going to also be an area in between the fields that's going to be constructed. And so, you know, it's a connector piece for parents to sit, to watch games, whatever they're going to do. But when you add on that connector piece, it actually increases the size of the field to about 400 by 600. And so that's a lot more of a playable surface. And so in just discussing that with Eric, I mean, we're in agreement that if we have that whole area to use and to practice, and especially when we get the younger kids with the short field with soccer, et cetera, that we feel a lot more comfortable with that. So I just wanted to say that for the record, that I'm glad that Stephen clarified that afterwards, and the agreement hasn't changed at all, but I know that this board cares a lot about recreation and wants to make sure that our residents, you know, are fulfilled with their recreation needs. So, did I misstate anything, Stephen? Is that?
No, the important thing is the town will lose no rec programming. In fact, they will gain rec programming based off of how they want to utilize this facility.
Okay. So with that, this is second reading. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board on this agenda item this evening? Okay, there is none, so I would seek a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 2019-1585.
Second.
Motion on the floor for Mr. Redemeyer, the second for Mr. Wilson, approving ordinance number 2019-1585. All in favor, vote yes. Opposed, no. And the ordinance passes unanimously. Moving on to communications from our town attorney.
So a moment ago, I referred to you as Your Honor and said that I'd been in court all weekend. That was kind of true. I attended the Colorado High School Mock Trial regional competition at the courthouse in Greeley, and had a chance to compete there. My team, the Fort Collins High School Mock Trial team, competed, but I also wanted to let you know that the Windsor High School brought 2 full teams. That's how much interest there is in this program in your high school. And I wanted to also let you know that the coaches who are responsible for assembling that group include Kim Schutt, Cameron Banninga, and Kyle Stapleton at the high school. These are people who work every week starting in November with high school kids from Windsor, and these are exceptional high school kids. If you ever get a chance to witness this activity, you will be astounded at how these kids adapt to a decidedly adult environment where the rules are immutable. They can't work around them, unlike some of the rules that we have at home for teenagers. So I just wanted to recognize the Windsor High School mock trial teams, both of them, and thank the coaches and volunteers who helped with that competition this weekend. I don't want to brag or anything, but Fort Collins High School team did take first place and will be competing at the state competition 1 month from this weekend.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not bragging. Communications from town staff. Ms. Miller?
No communications.
Okay, we do have a site plan presentation in our packet this evening, so if anybody wanted to give comment, they should do so, right?
You sure are.
Okay, Ms. Malone, anything further?
Nothing further.
Mr. Lucas?
Nothing to add.
Chief?
Just a couple things.
Oh, God.
Here we I mentioned to a few of you earlier, the patch in front of you is our new police department patch. The patch on my shoulder is a patch that was designed by an officer 25 years ago, Ron Flesher. It has been around quite a while. When I became chief, some of the guys and gals asked if we could change our patch to go to something new. I asked them to design a patch, and this is what they came up with. We recently came to the point where we had to reorder patches, so rather than reordering this patch, we've gone to the new one patch in front of you. So Sergeant Darcy is the one that designed it, so we're happy with the design, and it looks great. So it's been 2 years sitting on my desk, so we finally got it off the ground. And just want to remind you also that on Wednesday we are swearing in 3 officers. two of them that come to us from Durango and one that is new out of an academy. So we're excited to have them on board, and I hope we see as many of you there as we can. Thank you.
And Board, I just want to add to that.
What time Wednesday?
1:30 p.m.
Here.
Yes, right here in this chamber.
Yeah, so I met with the Durango City Manager this last week, and he told me because we've hired so many of his officers, he's going to start sewing the Windsor patch on one arm. So when they come over here, they won't have as much to do with their uniform.
They'll
so
be
I
quite prepared then, yes.
Everybody, but he refuses to repaint his patrol car, so we've got.
We're good. Thank you. Any other
Yeah,
questions?
I plan to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, any further communications from our town manager?
Yes, Your Honor. So a couple things. One is I attended the Colorado City and County Managers Association conference at the end of last week. I appreciate the board allowing me to attend these conferences, to expand my knowledge and to network with other city managers and learn kind of their best practices. So I found it really invigorating and enlightening. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Second, just as a reminder, it came up earlier, 6 p.m. this Wednesday in this room, we will have a joint meeting with the DDA to hear the Brinkman proposal. And then finally, a reminder, coffee with the mayor this Saturday at Coffee House 29 at 7:30 to 9. So and I didn't take all your things, Your Honor, but that's
okay.
Just okay. Thank you.
Communications from town board. So, Dr. Jones, did you have something?
No, no.
Oh, no. So yes, so I do want to invite people to Coffee with the Mayor on Saturday. Because it is Kindness Week, I'm inviting many folks from the Ministerial Association so we can have a conversation because they've been asking me for a long time how they can help, how they can be of service. So we're going to bring them all together and we're going to see if we can't figure out maybe a way that we can actually use them and use their services for the better good of our community. The other thing Chief Klemick and I today, we were at Skyview School today with 4th graders. We were interrogated, he more so than me. They were obviously very much more interested in police matters and mayor matters. But we enjoyed visiting with all the 4th grade classes over there. And so I would just, as we move forward into Kindness Week, just again, remind all of you that we live it not only this week, but to live it every day, because Windsor truly is a special place, because I believe we are that caring community. And with that, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. We are adjourned. Thank you.
100 an hour.
Wow.
Wow.